You do it the exact same way, the exact same time, every single time, and you only do it once. Do it once, do it right, and you're done. Talk to any contractor. Time is money. I need to be able to get in, get my job done, get it done correctly, and then make sure that I don't have to come back.
John Henderson, Sales Director, Gas Equipment for ESAB Welding and Cutting.
I want to talk about where contractors lose time or maybe cut corners or what actually holds them up on the job site and not what looks good in a demo.
They will be asking us about competitive equipment. Well, what's good? What's bad? And that's the thing that we do tell them. Yes, there are differences in the market. People will skip using nitrogen as a purge. Those true craftsmen, they never forget the basics. You can watch it day in and day out, but when you see people that do, they take those steps away.
If someone here at AHR changed one habit tomorrow to save time and avoid callbacks, what should it be?
It's interesting when...
Welcome back to the Lost Art of the Skilled Trades podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Brown. Super excited to be here live at the AHR Expo here in Las Vegas. And today I have John Henderson, Sales Director for Gas Equipment for ESAB. Welcome, John, to the show.
Hey, Andrew, glad to be here. Thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, and I'm super excited. The energy here is just full of it's just amazing.
This is a great show. And let's face it, the weather's perfect. If you look at the foot traffic, this is good. It's going to be a great first day. This is great.
Great. And it's a great start to kick it off.
I agree.
John, you've seen sort of brazing done in the real world. And we talked about that every day, that you've seen it. And I want to talk about where contractors lose time or maybe cut corners or what actually holds them up on the job site and not what looks good in a demo. So I wanted to go here. Where do you see contractors losing the most time brazing, even when they think they're doing everything right?
I like what you said. You said, where do contractors lose time? And then you said, where do they cut corners? What's interesting is what we find more often than not, the reason that they lose time is they did cut a corner. Cutting corners is not going to work. You're either going to do the job right the first time or you're going to fix it the second time. So cutting those corners, all it does is it sets themselves up for doing a second operation. So little things, simple, these are the things that they learn. It's what I would say, brazing 101. You always clean your material. You always work with good material. You always do the basics every single time. Because invariably, the time that I don't sand my material down, I don't brush it, I don't do all those little things that I should do every single time, I go ahead, I'm in a hurry, I do the operation, I test it, and guess what? It leaks. And they will even in their mind say, you know what, I forgot, I didn't brush it off before I started. So what we find is that when you do things efficiently, time and repetitively. That's one when we're teaching people, and every trade school will do this. You do it the exact same way, the exact same time, every single time, and you only do it once. Do it once, do it right, and you're done. You go on about your job.
Yeah, and you talked about obviously rushing through things, right? Not taking all the steps. And maybe someone gets pressured to do a job done. You've probably seen that before, but making sure that you follow all those steps when it comes to that. And you talked about the trade school side of that, learning that, is that a skill that's kind of learned over time? Is that taught, by a mentor of some sort on site, or how that?
It depends on their journey. If you think about, traditionally you do have, we have trade schools. So the trade schools are going to be taught from the ground up. But then you do have some that they'll get into the industry and they don't have the skills to do this. Now, they are going to learn from someone, and it usually is a mentorship. They're working with the guy that's been doing this for 30 years or 40 years, what we call a journeyman tradesman. They know all the secrets to do the job right, and every single one of them will tell you, do it the same way every time. Don't cut corners. Yes, do it very efficiently. Because what they will find is that when you're learning, it's going to take you a while. But once you get to the point where you're proficient, it happens. It's like magic. I always say it is truly an art form. When you're watching somebody brazing, I love somebody that's really good because it is an art. Watching them quickly, easily do a braze, and then they're off, they're done. And because they're so quick at it, they know exactly, just from looking, the temperature it needs to be. They don't sit there and brush their solder on or their filler material on, minute after minute. You'll watch them. The heat will get exactly where it needs. They put it in, they're done, they're gone. And that's something that does take some time. It's not something you're going to pick up overnight. It can be aggravating like anything else to learn and to get that skill set. But once you get it, it's always going to happen.
How much do you think tool choice actually has when it starts to matter in this, particular case?
It's huge. Being here at the show, obviously, we have both distributors of ours and end users coming in. And we spend a lot of time talking to them about, obviously our equipment. And then they will be asking us about competitive equipment. Well, what's good? What's bad? And that's the thing that we do tell them. Yes, there are differences in the market. There is, and it's not only a difference from one competitor or one company. There's different pieces of equipment within those companies that manufacture it. I always use the term, I said, there's a right tool and there's a wrong tool. But there's always the right tool for the job that you're working with. And you need to understand that. So sometimes it's knowing, is there a better tool to use for what I'm doing? Sometimes maybe not. But knowing the differences, knowing what is fits the application that you're working with to better perform, then that's going to do just what we talked about earlier. How can I more efficiently finish my job? Because you talk to any contractor, time is money. I need to be able to get in, get my job done, get it done correctly, and then make sure that I don't have to come back. It could be process, procedure, or equipment that gets you there.
Yeah. Are there any examples that you think of off the top of your head that have come up that you can kind of share?
One of the ones we get a lot of questions about is whether I use an air fuel system or a oxy fuel system. And that's just a simple matter whether I'm using oxygen introduced with the fuel, which does, does create more heat, or do I use an air fuel system, which is actually more portable? So those are the questions that we usually ask people. Okay, is portability the premium that you're working with? Is higher heat the premium that you're working with? So depending on the job that you're doing, the application that it's in, and the conditions, so the environment could play into this too. We could determine, all right, is air fuel the best solution for you? Or is oxy fuel the best solution for you? And like I said, there could be variables that come into each of those depending on which direction we go in.
Yeah. And look, it takes experience, right? Over time, you understand which tools to go with, which things maybe not, what works and what doesn't work. But I want to go back to the rushed sort of feeling. What's a brazing best practice that everyone knows but still skips when they feel rushed?
Yeah, the one that we see more and more now is people will skip using nitrogen as a purge. That is an area that the good tradesmen, they will tell you hands down, you don't ever skip on that. It does take a little more time. So now I've got to use another piece of equipment. I've got to take the time to get it set up. But if I'm using that back purge, what it does is eliminates the oxidation inside your tubing when you're brazing. Now, does that mean that I can't get a good braze when I'm not doing that? No. But what it will do almost every time is you will get that oxidation. So what can happen is that oxidation can break off and it will wind up in your system. So when we talked about, efficiency, we talked about getting the job done. It's not always just getting the job done today, because most contractors are going to tell you, I want a customer for life. So what they don't want to do is do an installation knowing that 6 months down the road, they have to come back because something happened where the oxidation got into the system that I had to break into, clean out, and then redo. So they'll tell you very quickly. In fact, I've had a lot of contractors tell me that I'm looking for a customer for life. So I'm going to do it absolutely right the first time. So back to what your question was, the fact of not using that nitrogen, yes, it can save time, it can save money, but it's not always the best thing for the long-term solution.
Right, exactly. And then it would cost it more time and it becomes more expensive
Much more.
at the end of the day.
Much more. I mean, think about if you're doing the same job twice and you're only making the money once. Now, I'm not a mathematician.
The math doesn't really
I can
work.
figure that one out.
It doesn't necessarily work
Yep.
out there. Where does brazing training break down once really someone's actually on a job site?
I always say it goes back to complacency. When you forget the basics, it's again, those true craftsmen, they never forget the basics. You can watch it day in and day out, but when you see people that do, they take those steps away. They don't clean their material. They don't brush their material. They don't do the things that they have been taught and ingrained to do. And they get complacent in what they're doing later. All that does is cause problems. And typically you're going to find that those people that do that, I won't say they don't survive in the industry, but they will have a reputation in the industry.
I'm sure you've seen that time and time again.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
And and it's not just in brazing. You find that everywhere. Somebody taking shortcuts is not the solution. That's the one thing that I'll always tell people. And again, I talk about those craftsmen. They will tell you the same thing. Don't take a shortcut. Do it right the first time.
It's something to think about, especially if you're new in the industry, right? And you want to make sure that you want to have a good reputation in the industry, is making sure that you follow the steps and you do the right work and you have the right tools sort of behind that. And that's extremely important.
To that point, one of the things that I really love is when you see somebody new to the industry and they have that inquisitive mind that they ask the questions, maybe who they're working with at that particular moment, they don't tell them every single step that they're doing. They're not, articulating that. They're not saying, okay, I do this, I do this, I do this. But you're watching it. You're watching them do it. But what is amazing to me is when you see that young person, they watch the whole process, and then they when they're finished, the guy said, well, you have any questions? He goes, well, yeah, why did you do this? And I love that because now, and you'll even see the guys that are more experienced, they'll kind of light up because they love the fact that, oh, you just asked me one of the basic questions. You just asked me why I did this. And then usually, again, it's fun to watch them say this. Well, all right, that's part of the basics that you're going to learn that you do every time. And then let me explain to you why you do that. And to me, that is the thing that is so, I use the term endearing about the industry. I mean, I've been doing this for 40 years. So it's part of my DNA. And to see, the next generation coming in and have that inquisitive nature to ask the questions, why are you doing that? Can I do this? Can I do that? Hey, we are always looking for ways, can I do this? Can I take a shortcut and make it do this? And you get the guy that goes, no, you can't. But again, why? Why can't I do that? And then you get the reason for it, and you see the light bulb go off. Oh, okay, that makes sense. And hopefully that resonates and it stays with them for their entire career.
Yeah. Well, most tradespeople are problem solvers. They want to, right? They want to solve, and they want to make sure that they do it right. But, showing up to the job site, making sure that they are open to learn, right? And learn from some of their mistakes, the things that they've, like you said, maybe they cut a corner or something.
Made a mistake.
Does that happen?
Yeah.
Does that happen?
Well, it's funny. It's interesting you say that because usually the guys that have been around a while, that's what they're going to tell you. I know this works because I've done it the wrong way enough to know don't ever do that again.
Sure.
And right, wrong, or indifferent, we do learn from our mistakes, or we hope that we do, and don't make the same ones twice. And that's the why piece that comes in from a good trainer. They can tell you, you don't do it this way, and this is why you don't do it that way.
What would you say, what is the difference between equipment that looks good in a demo and equipment that survives daily job site abuse?
You actually said it very well. It's the durability part of it is huge. When if you got somebody that's DIY, hey, I do a little bit of plumbing on the side, I do work at my house or whatever. Do I need the most robust industrial product that's out there? Probably not. But if it's a tool that I'm using every day and I'm depending on that tool, remember what we talked about, time is money. If I've got a tool that fails in the field, that's costing me time, which is costing the company money. So I need a tool that we know will work day in, day out, every day, exactly the same way. So that's really where it comes into. So yes, if I'm working a demo, we're doing demos here. Is this a strenuous environment that it's being used in? No. Now, if I'm under a house and I'm dragging it through the dirt and it needs to be able to stand up to that. So to answer your question very specifically, it's the durability that makes the difference.
And obviously you want to invest in a particular tool or product or brand to make sure that it lasts for a very long time. Otherwise, like you said, it's going to cost you more in the long run. So if you cut corners or you buy something that necessarily is not the right fit, or maybe it's a little bit cheaper, that in the long run, it's going to cost you.
Andrew, I tell people a story because I've had people ask me, well, how long does something last? And I said, well, it depends on what you do with it, how well you take care of it. But kind of a long story, I'll make it as short as I can. But we had somebody come to us several years ago, and he sent us a letter and said, look, I've been in the trade for 40 years. I'm retiring, but I wanted you to know that the equipment that I'm using was my grandfather's. So this guy has worked 40 years in an industry that he was equipment that his grandfather had used. That's a testament to durability. So, will every piece of equipment last that long? No. But can it? Yes. And that fits exactly what you're talking about is, am I buying a product that has the reputation that can do that? Yeah. Now you take care of it. You take care of your tools will take care of you. You abuse them, guess what? You're going to pay for it again. But if I do the right things, I take care of it, will it last? 100%.
What are some examples of maintenance over time to keep these set of tools in good working condition? What can some people do?
Depending on which we got. So let's start at one end, the regulator that you're working with. Typically, most damage comes from storage or transportation. So, I always say, if I've got a tool truck, it is packed with stuff. But if I've got it configured in such a way that it's not going to get damaged when I'm transporting it from job to job, then it's not going to get damaged. So if you think about a regulator, it's on a cylinder. Most people don't necessarily take it off of the cylinder from job to job. But if I secure it so that the cylinder won't fall or something else won't hit it, well, it's not going to get damaged. So from a maintenance perspective, there's really not a lot that I need to do with my regulator. I just need to protect it. Hoses, kind of the same thing. What I need to do is I need to make sure they're clean. I don't want to get them in a situation where they're up against something that's sharp or hot. So I protect it from that. So again, from a maintenance perspective, it's not a lot to do. Torch, that one there is a little bit of maintenance that I could do, but it's only dealing with the consumable, the tip part of that. And that's just a matter of periodically taking a look at what the tip end. Do I have material at the tip end at the orifice? If it is, I need to clean it. There's a little tip cleaner that I just need to take out. But again, what we find is that majority of the time that there's damage or a reason that it's not functioning, it's because somebody damaged it. I dropped it. I'm not securing it when I'm transporting it. I'm not securing it when I'm finishing the job. So I always tell people, yes, there's a few maintenance things, but it's very few. The tip, I keep it clean and I'm good. But just storing and transporting it so that it does not get damaged and you're good.
Yeah. So you want to make sure that it lasts for a long time. And in the example that you gave that it lasts for that long, that's wild. That's wild. But I guess there are stories like that.
There are, and luckily there's not so many of them that somebody doesn't come and buy again, or else I'm out of a job.
That's a good point.
Yes.
If someone here at AHR changed one habit tomorrow to save time and avoid callbacks, what should it be?
I'm going to go right back to where I started. Don't cut corners. You know, it's interesting when somebody does cut a corner, they typically do it knowingly. They did it knowing, I'm rushing. I'm not going to clean my material before I join it together. So I always tell people, don't cut the corners. Do what you've been taught. Do what you do best. Like we said, do it the same way every single time. So, and it will always pay off 100% of the time.
John, you're a wealth of knowledge and your experience. You can tell that you've seen a thing or two out there. And it's great to get your feedback about sort of the industry and, brazing and different parts of welding and being at the HVAC show. So I appreciate your stopping by the booth, and thank you so much.
Well, if your audience didn't catch that, guys, everybody, he just called me old. But Andrew, I really do appreciate it. Thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting the industry.
Thank you so much.
You got it, buddy.